Hello. Welcome to the Skeins of Dreams Knitting Podcast. I'm Megha. I'm also known as Skeins of Dreams on Instagram and on Ravelry. And this is the corner of YouTube where I usually come and share all about my knitting and making journey with all of you. Thank you so much for checking out this video. If you're a new and if you're a returning viewer, thank you so much. I recorded my last video about a month ago. I was preparing for my trip to India. We went on a 3-week vacation to meet our families. We hadn't been back since the pandemic started. So we got a chance to do that. We vacationed a bit and now I'm back. It took me a while to get the inspiration and to get back in routine with life here, and also with respect to recording a podcast episode. I thought a lot about it. I honestly didn't feel like doing it for a while, and then today I was like, you know what, let me just get going. We'll see how it goes, and then if I am able to get my mojo back, I might just finish the episode. So hopefully you're seeing this. I spoke all about my plans for knitting while I was in vacation in India, and it's safe to say that I did not do anything. It was too hot to want to knit. I don't know, every single time I go to India, I just don't feel like touching my needles, and knitting is, I don't know how to explain it. I knit a lot when I'm here, but it just does not fit into my life in India. I'm usually there visiting family and friends for a short time, and while I'm there, I just don't feel like knitting. I don't know how to explain that, and maybe that's not such a bad thing. I used to go back home once a year, and I would kind of consider that as my break from knitting. My hands need that anyway. My hands and my back. So I don't know, I'm not super upset about it at all. Whenever I go, I don't knit. This time I thought, because I've been knitting so much over the last 3 years, it has exponentially increased how much I'm knitting nowadays. So I thought I might still be able to knit in India, but it did not happen. So anyway, that aside, I'm back now, and the moment I got back into knitting. So the plan for this episode, hold on, I gotta fix, so I've been struggling with trying to find a location to record, because my green wall and everything is nice, but because it's getting darker, the lighting is not good enough, and the rest of the house has such huge windows, you always end up seeing this really bright spot, and I've been struggling all morning to find a good location. Let me fix this just to... Okay, hopefully that's a little better. Sorry about the change of scenery. I had to kind of allow this, but hopefully that's not too annoying. And then I had to turn on something on the television, because otherwise you can see the lights above reflect in the TV. So it has been a whole thing trying to figure out where to record from. But anyway, I don't know what I was saying. Yeah, I was just saying that I didn't knit as much in India and that I'm okay with it, and the moment I got back, I started knitting again. So the plan for this episode is kind of like a warm-up for myself. It's been a while, I'm out of touch and all of that. But I thought I'd show you some of the projects I'm currently working on. I'm not going to show you a lot of projects all my projects that I'm currently working on, but on the right now what is on my needles, and then I'll finish that, and then I'll talk about my trip and put some videos about my trip and everything, if you'd like to stick around and watch that. And that's why I want to get the knitting taken care of in the first part of the video, so that anyone who's just here for the knitting, you can watch, and then you can watch my next episode. So anyway, I have 1 finished objects and I have 2 active works in progress that I'm actively knitting on. I have a week off, like my workplace is closed between Christmas and New Year's, so I'm only back at work next week, so this gives me a lot of time to just get back into routine after my very hectic trip. And when I talk about the trip, you'll know that it was very busy. And if you follow me on Instagram, I have been sharing a lot about my trip there. I was putting pictures from the trip and videos all in my stories, and I got a lot of response on those because everyone really enjoyed like watching those or taking a look at all the things I was doing. So thank you so much for that. But yeah, before I again go off on a tangent talking about the trip, let me show you my finished object. So before I left, I was knitting on this, and you've seen this before. It is now a finished object. This is the flax sweater that I was working on for my neighbor's son, and I finished it. I have to weave in the ends, like the ends are still like hanging about here. I haven't woven them in. I haven't even blocked it yet, but it's done. And I stopped oh, so last time I showed you, I had to rip the sweater back because it wasn't coming out as big as I needed it to be. So I was knitting the flax sweater, and then a couple of people reached out and said, like, gave me a heads up that the flax pattern is very slim fit. So it says a certain age and everything, but it's not like, I don't know, kids are bigger than the pattern says. So what I ended up doing is I requested my neighbor, because it's for her kids. I had let her, I mean I told her that I'm knitting them sweaters, so it wasn't a surprise for my neighbor. So I ended up asking their favorite colors, and then I also asked her to give me a couple of sweaters that they currently wear so that I can measure those, and so I wouldn't knit something that wasn't the right size. Anyway, all that to say, she gave me the sweaters, I measured them, and I adjusted for those. So it's a heavily modified flax pattern. I ended up doing extra raglan increases. My gauge is different, like I did my own thing basically. And then I also did the striping. But I'm very happy with the sweater. I think it's pretty big. I think the boy is much slimmer than this, but I'm guessing because it's going to be layered, like he's gonna wear other things under the sweater, so it might as well be a little bigger, and then it can come, I mean he can fit into it next season as well, so that's good. The yarn I used is Malabrigo Rios. This blue is Azul Profundo. I don't know why that name or what that means. And this is the natural color. I just did 3 stripes on the sleeves because I don't know, I felt like it was going to be too stripy if I did like the whole thing like the body. I'm really happy with how this looks. I really like the yarn, and I like giving children's sweater, like I mentioned this before, that I like using superwash yarn for children's sweaters because, you know, they can be washed and everything because kids get their stuff dirty. So anyway, so that is my finished object. And oh, I didn't talk about the sweater I'm wearing. You've seen this before. This is the Blizzard sweater by Jessica McDonald. It's become like my home sweater. It kind of puckers a little bit. I think it's a combination of my, and I've spoken about this before, yoke sweaters not fitting very well because my shoulders are much smaller than my bust, so I get all this extra fabric around here. So I end up wearing, I do wear this outside, like I wear it to the grocery store and stuff, but it's become like my home sweater. But I really love, I made this in Holst, super soft, held double, and I love the fabric it makes. So I kind of want a nice fitting, well-fitting sweater in Holst held double. I keep thinking about it, but I haven't done it yet. Anyway, I think I'm a little like frazzled. I'm getting back in routine with my podcast and recording videos, so please excuse me for all the blabber. I'll now quickly talk about my works in progress. So as I mentioned before, I made the flax for the boy, and my neighbor has a daughter as well, and so I'm making a sweater for the girl as well. And this is how far I've got. You may recognize this sweater. This is the Bean and Olive sweater by Andrea Mowry. Drea Renee Knits. I actually test knit the sweater, so I had this pattern in my library. I knit it a few years ago when it released. I knit it for my cousin, and she lives in India, and I sent the sweater to India and she wore it, and now it's too small for her, but whatever. I have the pattern. I had to increase the yoke depth and the chest circumference to fit my neighbor's daughter, so I ended up adding some raglan increases right after I finished the yoke to get it a little bigger. I think the last size in the children's version is like 30-inch bust, but I needed a 36-inch bust, so I changed my gauge and I added raglan increases so that the children's size would be sufficient. I didn't want to buy the adult pattern. I mean, it's the same design, it's just got probably short rows and larger sizes, and if I really want to, I think I can work out the adult size if I needed. But yeah, it's a simple enough yoke sweater. I really like the color combination that I've picked for this. The pink is again Malabrigo Rios in the color English Rose. It's one of my favorite pinks. Like, I really love how beautiful this pink is. It's very tonal. I'm alternating skeins because I think they're different dye lots, so I'm alternating the skeins. I'm doing helical knitting for the body. I didn't alternate skeins when I was doing color work for the yoke. The teal is actually a Knit Picks yarn, and I don't remember what base or what color it is. It's just very, very deep stash. I've had it for a long time, and almost like 6-7 years. It's just a single skein is what I have, and it's a worsted weight yarn, so it fit perfectly with the Rio's like yarn weight wise, so I ended up using that as the contrast color. And I chose these colors because I asked my neighbor I asked her what her daughter likes, what colors she likes, and she said pink and teal, and I was like, actually that might make a very pretty sweater, so I ended up going with the pink and teal. I wanted to finish these two sweaters before Christmas and gift it to them, but that didn't happen. So I decided it's fine, it's gonna be cold for another couple months anyway, so I might just finish it this week and try to give it in the new year as a New Year's present, a late Christmas gift. I don't mind that at all. So I'm not too stressed out about it. I'll finish it when I finish it, but I won't put it aside and forget about it. I will finish it so that they can have it. And with children's sweaters, it's not like you can let them languish for a while because the kids then stop fitting into them, so I might as well finish and give it to them. But yeah, that is what I've been actively working on. And I have one more project which I'm super excited about, and that is one of the advents I got this year. I purchased 2 advent calendars, one from the Fibre Fox, who is a dyer in the UK, and one from my friend Camilla, who has the Camijo yarns, and I got both those advents this year. I started knitting with the Fibre Fox advent first. I am still deciding on what I want to make with Camilla's advent. I know Camilla made socks with her own advent. I watched her vlogmas. I had a lot of fun watching all the vlogmases this year. Like, I watched each and every episode of everybody in my radar who is doing a vlogmas, and Camilla was knitting socks with her own advent, but I didn't want to really split the advent up. I kind of, even though her advent is not really a fade, I still want to use it all in one project, because I know if I don't do that, it'll just like, I'll break the thing up and then I'll never knit with the other half, and I know myself, I'm just it won't be I'll just forget about it, and then I'll move on to other things that excite me. So I do want to keep all my Advent yarns together, because then it'll be a nice memory kind of a thing, that it was this particular Advent I bought this year, and this is the project I made with it, and all of that. So I'm still deciding what I want to do with that. But with my Fibre Fox Advent, which was more of a fade, I wanted to make a throw. And of course, Helen Stewart, who is Curious Handmade on Instagram, came out with the Anthology throw, which is a circular throw, and I really fell in love with that pattern. It looks so pretty, and I felt like the Fibre Fox Advent would look so good in knit up in that throw. So hold on, I need to grab the bag. So I purchased the whole Advent thing from the Fibre Fox. I got this very pretty project bag, and then I also got a single skein, a full skein, and then of course the 20 gram skeins. I'm gonna show you the project first, and then I'll show you the yarn. So this is how far I've got on the Anthology throw. I've just started. I think I'm on color 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm on color 6, and it's looking very pretty. I'm super happy with it. The Fibre Fox had an option of picking what base you wanted the Advent on, and I picked the non-superwash fingering base, which is I think non-superwash merino 100%. I really love how subtle the colors are, because the same colors were dyed on different bases, so you can see how they look on other bases. I saw someone who had the yak base, and that looks very different. This is the current color I'm knitting with, and this is the next color, so the colors flow really well. Let me try and show you the other colors, but it's going to be difficult because there's so many. I do have a picture I can put on the screen here, which I posted on Instagram today, so you can see what at least the next few colors look like, but it'll be very hard to show you all the colors. So maybe what I can do, instead of showing my colors, is I can put a picture of the actual Advent calendar colors that the Fibre Fox posted, so that's easy to do. So I'm really thrilled with this purchase, and I'm so happy about this pattern choice as well. I really wanted to knit a Helen Stewart pattern at some point, because I know she does the whole, like, she'll tell you how much progress you've made. She'll give you a percentage finish. She'll also do it row wise, so you can, I really like, I printed out the pattern and I'm like checking a row off, and so it kind of feels nice to do that. So this has been my kind of in-between knit when I'm trying to finish the other sweaters for my neighbor's kids. But it has been such a pleasure to work on this, and it's pretty mindless with some interest, because there's like some lace that you're doing, but then the lace rows are interspersed with like lot of knitting rows, which I'm really enjoying. So that is what I've been knitting on. So while I talk about, I think that's all I want to talk about knitting wise. I kind of want to keep this episode short. I'm just getting back into the rhythm of doing this, but I didn't want to let too much time pass before I recorded it. So I'm gonna talk about my trip now, and that's all for the knitting content in this episode. But hopefully you liked my videos. I see my hair is like super frizzy. It's like winter and hair is not really doing very well, but I couldn't be bothered to set it and everything. I'm on a vacation. I'm still on vacation because now it's like the winter break and everything, so I didn't really do anything extra for the podcast. Sorry about that, but I'm taking it slow this week, and next week onwards my work starts again, so I'll be busy, and so I'm just taking a break from all the things I should be doing. Also, I don't think I mentioned, but I got new glasses, in case you're wondering what's off, why she looks weird. I got new glasses, so I hope it's not too big of a change. I know sometimes you get used to seeing a person a certain way, and then suddenly they change something and you're like, something's off. So anyway, thank you so much if you were here only for the knitting content. I'm now going to talk about my trip to India, and I'm going to do what I usually do, is talk about the trip and intersperse my talking with some video and footage that I took while I was in India, and some pictures and all of that. So hopefully you enjoy it. And it's not too haphazard, but that's usually how I do things, very haphazard. But yeah, so we left for India on the 22nd of November. Our flight was from Pittsburgh to New York City, JFK airport, and then from JFK we had a direct flight to New Delhi. That is a 13.5-hour flight. And we had an 8-hour layover in JFK. So it was a very, very long and annoying trip to get to New Delhi. And the flight wasn't fun. The 13.5-hour flight was very bad. The tray table was broken, the armrest was broken. The one thing, it's a pet peeve of mine, when two people are traveling together, the best thing is to take the armrest off, like you pick it up, and so it's kind of like you have more space for kind of spreading out and everything, and we couldn't do that because the armrest was broken. So the trip there was kind of a disaster already, but obviously things got better once we reached the country. We were staying at a distant relative's place in Delhi. There was a whole thing with our immigration. We had to go get our visa renewed in the consulate, and we had to take this date, the appointment for that visa renewal, like a year in advance, because there's a lot of backlog with these visa renewals now because of the pandemic. And so we had to change our date multiple times, and whatever, long story short, we had a date and we had an appointment in New Delhi, so we had to go there, but none of our families were in New Delhi, which was also not expected. We were thinking that Baljit's family would be in New Delhi, but then they were not. They are living with his brother and sister-in-law in Mumbai. So anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. We were in New Delhi for a day at a distant relative's house, and then we went on a vacation to the state of Rajasthan. We were in Jodhpur and Udaipur, two cities in that state. I'm gonna try and put at least like on the map where these places are, so you can get an idea. I know if I just say the names, you may not pick the names up, so I'm gonna put them on the screen as well. So yeah, we were in Rajasthan for a week, just Baljit and I. We went on a vacation. Usually when we go on a trip to India, we go do family things, and then we never really get a chance to travel. And then the previous time we went, it was our wedding, and the time before that was preparation for the wedding. So it's like every time we go, we never actually got a chance to travel the country. So this time we really wanted to take time to do that, and we had an amazing week in Rajasthan. This state is famous for its, all of India is famous for its history, just because of how old the country is, and every place is different. Every place has its own history and culture and all of that, and no two states are alike, pretty much. Very, very different places. It's like if you thought of Europe as a continent and all these countries are different from each other, languages are different, it's like Europe but in a country. So all states are different and no two places look the same, no languages are the same. It's all, so even we don't know of so many things that, you know, other people in other communities and cultures do, or the kind of food they eat and everything. So it's very new for us as well. So we went to this place, and it's very famous for, there's a desert. So the western part of the state is a desert, and there are bigger cities on the eastern part of the state. and we went to one of the cities which has a very beautiful, they all have very beautiful palaces and forts and everything from way back when kings and princes ruled this place. So we went to a fort, and we got a guide who told us all about how the fort was built and, you know, like fun facts and things like that. So we got a nice tour, and they had turned part of the fort into a museum, so you got to see a lot of like armors and weapons and how they traveled, what kind of clothes they wore and things like that. So it was a lot of fun to do that. We did shopping, and we also went, one of the days we ended up going on a camel safari. So we ended up riding on a camel for like an hour, and they took us into the desert pretty much and showed us like the sunset and everything. So it was 1 hour, including like stopping at this place where you could watch the sunset, and it was really, really beautiful. I had never been on a camel before. It was very, very, like, it was a lot of fun, but it was very unnerving as well, because it's basically a roller coaster ride, and especially when you're like sitting on the camel and then it gets up, it's very bumpy, and so you have to make sure you're holding on, otherwise you could fall off and everything. So it was a lot of fun. Like, we had a really nice time, and the safari included a camel ride, and then they took us to a camp where they had some cultural programs where like there was some folk dance and music, and then they had like authentic Rajasthani food. So we had that for dinner, and the entire time, needless to say, I was having amazing food at all the hotels we stayed at, and everywhere we went the food was really good. And I really enjoy eating local food when we travel anywhere, like not just in India but anywhere I go. I really want to I'm knitting, by the way, in case you're wondering why I keep looking down. But yeah, I really enjoy eating the local food and everything, so that's what we were doing. And we had dinner that night at the safari, and they had cooked like authentic Rajasthani food. So it was a really, really fun trip. That was city one, which is Jodhpur. We also obviously did some shopping. I had some saris to buy for my friends and family, and I ended up doing some shopping in Jodhpur. And so after Jodhpur, we went to another city called Udaipur. Very, very beautiful city. It's kind of like nested in the valley in the Aravalli ranges. Aravallis are a mountain range or a hill range. They're not mountains, they're not very tall, but they're a hill range in the northwestern part of India. So this city Udaipur is kind of nested in those mountains, and there is a huge lake, and there are like we were staying in a hotel where if you just stepped out of the room into the balcony, you could see the hills all around you, and it was so beautiful. Like even the hotel we stayed at was very, very pretty. And then here we again went to the city lake palace. So the kings of this particular region had built this particular palace, and that was also turned into a museum. So you got to go around and kind of see artifacts and again weapons and clothes and all of that, so kind of get like a blast of history. So that was fun. And then again we had a lot of good local food. We weren't at this place for too long, it was just a couple of days, and then we had to go back to Delhi. But yeah, the week in Rajasthan was really amazing, and I'm now gonna put a video kind of showing a snapshot of everything we did during this week for you to take a look at, and then I'll talk about the rest of my trip. Now that we were done with our vacation, we had a visa renewal appointment, so we took care of that in New Delhi, and then we flew to the southernmost state of India called Kerala. We went to a city called Trivandrum. That's the first place we went to, and this now coming like after the desert and northwestern part of the country, now we're in the south. This was extremely humid, very tropical place. There were beaches and palm trees and coconut trees, and it was amazing. It was safe to say that I was feeling very hot during this particular week when we were in the south, in Kerala specifically, because it was so humid. And I have been living in the US for about 10 years, and I have never been back in the summer in India, so I kind of feel like my body is not acclimated to the summer anymore. And this trip I actually felt that, because it was December pretty much, so winter in India, and I was too hot. I was sweating so much. It was so funny. But yeah, the city, we were staying in this really beautiful resort which had a private beach and it had a pool, and it was so much fun. We went to this place with Baljeet's family. So his parents, his brother and sister-in-law, and her parents, like our sister-in-law's parents, and her brother and sister-in-law, like there was 12 of us basically traveling together for a week. Needless to say, like there was a lot of family stuff, and like we were traveling, but also this was the only place we were actually hanging out with his parents, so we did a lot of that. Like we would just like sit and talk into the night and things like that. And then it was actually his brother and sister-in-law's wedding anniversary and their 2-year-old kid's birthday. We met our nephew for the first time on this trip, so it was a lot of fun interacting with the little kids. We had a niece on the trip as well and a nephew who were on the trip. I'm not going to explain how the niece is related to us, but anyway, there was family on this trip. So it was nice getting to hang out with them. Also, you know, beautiful state. There were, like I said, private beaches, so we hung out at the beach a few days, and then we went to another city called Alleppey. It's more of a town than a city, where we were staying. So Alleppey is very famous for its backwaters, so they have a lot of houseboats and boats that like kind of take you around to show you the backwaters and everything. So we did that. We did boat rides a couple of days, and then finally we went to a larger city called Kochi, which is also like it has a naval base and everything, so there's a lot to see in that city. But I was not there for too long, because after 2 weeks of being in India, I had still not met my mom and my brother, so I decided to leave this vacation in Kerala earlier and go see my brother and my mom 2 days before Baljeet was going to go. So we had originally booked our tickets together, but then I preponed my trip because I was really, I wanted to see them as soon as I could. So I kind of cut my Kerala trip short and I went home to see my mom and my brother. And before I start talking about everything I did at home, I'm gonna put in some footage about our trip in Kerala, and I'll show you all the fun things and all the tropical vacation we had over there. So yeah. Finally, I'm home with my mom and my brother, and I did not do much. I just stayed home. Maybe went shopping a couple of days, but mostly ate at home because I missed my mom's cooking a lot. So she made very good food, and we hung out and we watched some movies. I basically went through all the old albums. I really love doing that. Every time I'm home, I look at all the family albums we have from when I was a kid, from when my brother and I were kids, and there's a lot of memories in those pictures. So we basically go through those albums and then talk about stuff that happened back then, and so it was a really nice time I had at home. I definitely feel that I wasn't home for as long as I wanted. Usually when I go to India, I go for like a couple of weeks and I just stay with my mom and my brother. But this is the first trip we took after the wedding, and so this was like we had to meet Baljit's family and my family, so it was a lot to fit in the 3 weeks, and then we decided to do a vacation just ourselves. So I don't think that was the best idea because right after the pandemic of not going anywhere, not doing anything, we just like did this massive trip where we had so many things to do. We were in 7 cities, we took 9 flights, 2 train rides, couple of boat rides. It was insane, the amount of traveling we did. And so by the time I got home, I was very, very tired, and I really felt like I needed to be home just a little more. So I'm seriously considering going back next year, but this time not going with Baljit, just going myself and just staying with my mom and my brother for a longer time. Though I think my mom is gonna come visit me in the US next year, so hopefully that'll happen, so I won't feel like I didn't get enough time with her. but we had a really nice time. And then so yeah, 2 days after I went home, Baljit joined us, so he was there for about 4 days as well. We were in a city called Bangalore, which is also in the south of the country. This is not where I'm from originally. My brother recently moved here for a job, so my mom moved with him. I'm from a city called Hyderabad, which is about 8-hour drive from Bangalore, so it's not that far, but again the language, as I mentioned, is different. In 8 hours you're in a totally different state and talking a completely different language. But yeah, that's basically what we did. I know I probably spoke about it for 10 minutes, but it was a lot. And after all of this, we had to again go back to New Delhi, pick up our passports, which were with the US consulate over there, and we had got a visa renewed, and then we flew back to the US. Our flight back was really good. It was empty, so we could basically like lay down. We had 4 seats between the two of us. We had like, there was no one next to us, so we were able to lay down happily. Oh, and you see the extremely blown out kitty over here. But yeah, so we basically slept on the flight, like properly slept, because there was no one. It is off season, right? Like people are going to India at this time, they're not coming back before Christmas. So that way it was, we really needed we needed our journey to be less harrowing than the trip there because we had 3 weeks of travel kind of as a baggage on us, but it was a beautiful trip. We bought a bunch of things we came back with just to decorate the house and everything, and we were really waiting for this trip to get some pieces that would add a lot of color to our home and all of that. So all in all, it was a very, very nice trip. Got to meet everybody who we had intended to meet, so it was fun. We were definitely exhausted. I had to work for a week before the Christmas break started, but needless to say, I was extremely jet lagged. We were falling asleep at 4 p.m. Like 4 p.m. local time here, but in India it was like early morning and everything, so we were getting like, we were jet lagged, and so it took us a good 10 days to recover from just this trip. And then we have another break because I mean my office is off between Christmas and New Year, so we had another break. But yeah, overall the trip was successful. I didn't do any knitting. See, in all this I spoke about, there was not any mention of knitting because all the things we were doing, all the people we were meeting, how hot it was, it just added up to no knitting being done. Which wasn't, I mean, it's not the worst thing. I had a really nice time, definitely a trip to remember, and came back with a lot of beautiful memories. And yeah, so that was what I did basically during most of December and some of November. And I thought I would share some footage of that with all of you. So I did plan on talking about my trip. Maybe originally I had planned to talk about in a lot more detail, give you a real snapshot of the place and everything, but I'm already kind of dreading how much editing needs to go into this, from all the pictures and the videos and everything that I took while I was there. Hopefully I can edit them well enough so you will like to see everything that we did. I don't want to talk more than this because then it'll just become me rambling about my trip and everything. So I would rather show you more footage than talk. But yeah, that was what I had planned for this episode. I hope you enjoyed listening to me. I don't know how long this will be along with all the footage that I'm going to put in here, but I hope you enjoyed watching and getting a small update on my knitting. And I'm going to do an episode on my 2022 knits like I did last year. It was a very popular video. I got a lot of feedback from that video, so I'm gonna do a similar video of me trying on everything I made in 2022. But I usually do that, I mean last year I did that in January, so this time as well I will do that in January. I hope you're all having a wonderful holiday season, and since I won't be seeing you until the new year, have a very happy new year. I hope you have a wonderful 2023, and thank you so much for all the support, all the love you've given me in 2022, and I hope to continue this friendship and like make this community that we've built over the last year, make it even bigger in 2023. So thank you so much for sticking around. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, take care, and happy crafting. Bye.